Welcome back to the Office Marketing Podcast with Mike Swigert, the podcast all about sales tips, mindset, and value bombs. 5 questions to help make your day more productive and learn a thing or two. Here is your host, best-selling author, Mike Swigert.
Hey, everybody. A question I get asked a lot, especially in this world, people talk about mindset a lot. And if you ever listen to my podcast, I talk a lot about mindset. But we talk about the mindset of prospecting. And if anybody here has ever been fishing, right? I actually love fishing. I like fishing with my family. I like going out sometimes by myself and just going fishing. But what I really don't like doing is touching fish, but which most people wouldn't call me a fisherman, but I sure do love fishing. And the interesting thing about fishing is the first thing you do is obviously you have to find a lake. Next thing is you find a cove where you think fish might be, right? So fish aren't going to be in shallow water when it's cold or hot. They're just not going to be in certain places. But that's the first step, right? You find a place, find the lake, and then you find the places in the lake where you think they're going to go. And the next step is you find a lure that you may like. And maybe it's because you talked to the guys at Bass Pro Shops and they gave you a tip and said, hey, this time of year, so-and-so like these lures and this size hook. And so now you found the lake, you found the spot of the lake that you want to fish. Now you have a lure. Next thing you have to do, you have to cast, right? One of my favorite things to do is to kind of find that nuanced part of the lake that wants to be fished. Maybe you see a little activity. You start throwing a couple of, throw your line out there a little bit. Maybe you cast and maybe you set up a jig that you drag it across the bottom and it'll float up. Your lure will float up a little bit. Sometimes you'll go across the top and try to pull it across the top. Sometimes you go across the top and it'll drop down. Like all these different things, okay? I love throwing out and I love changing my lure. I love catching the fish and I love bringing them in. I actually like bringing in a heavy fish on the lightest line I possibly can.
This episode of the Office Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Fusion Advisory. We help commercial contractors generate leads online profitably. Check us out at fusion-advisory.com.
So if you're listening and say, well, what does it have to do with the mindset of prospecting? It's exactly the same thing. Right? So what you need to do is go to where your ideal customers are and then go get more granular. Find that niche that you really want to go after, right? And then what you do is the lure is your messaging. You change your messaging. Maybe it's a certain messaging for one audience and a different messaging for another. And then what you have to do is you've got to cast. You've got to keep casting and keep casting and keep casting, right? And then, sometimes you catch here and there in different parts of the year. That's prospecting. That is your ideal mindset for prospecting. And here's the mega hack trick I can totally tell you. Fall in love with the process. If you love the process of prospecting, like I explained to you about the fishing, like I enjoyed going out and fishing and going through those different things. If you are okay with sending out tons of casts without a bite, and you recognize that maybe you're not casting in the right spot, maybe you're not, high or low, or maybe you're not using the right lure, always be thinking about that. And you know what? It's okay to fish and not catch anything. And you know what? It's okay to do prospecting and not engage a client. It's really okay, because all you're doing every single time is finding that message didn't work. Well, let's try a different message. Maybe we try a different part of the pond. Maybe it's trying a totally different part or a different pond or lake, whatever it is. I hope that you can sort of embrace that fisherman's mindset when it comes to prospecting and really embrace that and really fall in love with the process. And if you do, your prospecting this year is going to be amazing. So hope it helps. You guys have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Office Marketing Podcast. Be sure to join the conversation on our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the episode, head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.